What's up today? We got Jake in the house. What's happening, Jake?
Nothing much, bro. I'm just getting back from recording
Are
literally
you
just now. Yeah.
nice? Nice. Yeah, man. You know, I discovered your channel probably, I don't know how long ago. I'm always late to the game, but I've been watching your videos. This is your channel,
Yep.
Cajun Boy Jake on YouTube, and we'll definitely drop all the links and everything. I was just so impressed, man, with all your videos and your shorts have so much real fast substance to them, man. So
Yeah. That's what I'm
I'm
trying for.
you're doing it, man, and I'm really yeah, I'm really thankful, man, for you taking the time to talk with me today. I really am, man.
Like I said, I'm honored, bro. I am honestly honored that anybody wants to even interview me. So
Ah,
I'm
man,
happy to
hey,
be here.
you're a humble, nice guy, then, man. Well, I tell you what, let's just start like with just a little bit of background, beginning, man, where you're from. Cajun in the name, so I've got a pretty good clue. But let's
Yeah.
roll with that, man. Let me know a little bit about growing up, stuff like that.
Yeah, man. I am born and raised in Mansura, Louisiana. Is a little town. Like we don't even call them cities, we call them towns. And like to give you an idea of how small like our population is like 1,300 or 1,200 people, and then from like high school my graduating class was like 85 people. Like, and I used to think that was normal, until I joined the military, and then other people would start, clowning on me, talking about, where I'm from. And then I'm like, and I start hearing like people graduated with like 3,000 people or something. I'm like, dang, it ain't got 3,000 people in my hometown. And but yeah, I'm from a real small town. Like, if you ever watch what's the name of the show? The one when they hunt alligators on
I
bite
think, yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
swamp people.
Swamp
But
People.
like
Yeah, there you go.
the intro to Swamp People is legit, like could just be filmed in my hometown. Like everything you see on there is basically my hometown. And yeah, and that's how I also got into guns. It's just because everybody where I'm from pretty much shoot guns, have guns, hunt, fish, and I mean it's kind of different style because most people in the city, using guns for self protection more than hunting and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I think when I was like 4, I had at least a pellet gun already, and
Right.
then because that's just normal where I'm from, and then by the time I was 8, like my dad got me a shotgun, and so I've been shooting literally since I have memories. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, where I'm from, like I say, is just small, small, small town. Usually, if you don't know the town, that mean it's small.
It's pretty
You know,
small.
like when
Gotcha.
people ask me if I'm from, like they ask me and I say I'm from Louisiana, they immediately might say like New Orleans or Baton Rouge. I'm like,
Right.
if even if you was from Louisiana, you still wouldn't know where I'm from.
Still wouldn't know that area.
Unless
I
you was
got you.
from where I'm from. That's the only way, basically.
Right. So, yeah, man, I think I likewise had a pellet gun probably by the time I was, you know, very before school, probably even
Yeah.
almost, or kindergarten or something. And then going out to the country or something, shooting a 22 or, rifle or something like that by before I was, 8 or 9 or something, I'm guessing. But so early on, that's how you got familiar and probably experience is the biggest thing of knowing your tools like that,
Yeah.
wouldn't you
Like for
say?
me, it's just all experience, like, and how would you say? But like a lot of people got professional certifications and stuff. And I also went to the military. So I got a little bit of training there. But like,
Right.
bro, you really cannot count that. Like people, like if I say I went to the military, I think people hold that higher, like in regard. Like if I say like, oh yeah, I was in the military, they'll think like, oh, this is how you learn your gun training. But it's like not even, I wouldn't even count 1% military, you know?
Wow.
It
Oh,
is.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, like I knew all of the stuff before I went to the military, and like I shot good when I was in the military, and but we didn't even do handguns; we just did rifles.
Hmm.
So not until I was maybe in my early teen, like maybe like 17. It's just whenever I started shooting handguns and started getting good because we ain't hunting with handguns, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it was just all straight up hunting experience, mostly small game, uh, like dove a lot and rabbit a lot and stuff like that, and then shooting for whatever like invasive species is coming onto our properties, which is like
Mm-hmm.
nutria rat where I'm from, and snakes and whatever else. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it just came like that. Like I don't have no certifications. I wouldn't even call myself a professional or nothing like that. Maybe if you added up the hours, and you know how they say like it takes 9,000 hours to become whatever it is at that skill.
Proficient at whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like probably around there, you know. But
Got you. I
but yeah,
think you're correct on that, man. I think the experience factor, if you look at people, coming up, say someone just became a doctor and they've gotten, you know, their license, their medical license, they're a doctor. Would you rather have somebody that just became a medical doctor or somebody who's been doing it a long time and has the experience? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So I think there's no uh change out for experience, and I believe that that plays a big role in
yeah,
in that for sure. That's guaranteed. I mean, and your respect for it, I think.
yeah, for sure. And I just
Yeah.
try to see it as like as reality. Like I don't try to do like if I'm sure people that watch my shorts know, but I don't try to go for like, you know, I don't believe there's no John Wicks in real life, you know,
Right.
but that's what most people probably go to when they thinking like gun training, you know, because that's what's shown to us.
Right.
And like it just don't happen like that though. Even if you were the best, like you still, you know, very likely to lose a gunfight. And you know, it's easy to catch somebody if they don't suspect you there, you know. And a lot of times in real life, like the person ain't suspecting that this person's about to pull out a gun and whatever, you know. So
Yes.
whenever I'm doing all my videos, I'm keeping that in mind. It's like, you know, no one's John Wick, and real life situations are really just messy and
Right.
unorganized. And it's just from, you know, what I seen coming up, like crazy stuff that did happen around me. And then like I said, like I've been hunting my whole life. I even see it there, you know, like people, you know, with firearms just in high stress situations. And like it really, like I said, is not as pretty as they like to make it out on TV. And I think that is one thing. Like even the you know, one thing I don't like is how people train so much even reloading. And if
Right.
you go look up any real videos, like you really don't see that
No.
ever, you know?
No. It's usually going to be over pretty fast, and that's a great point you make. And I'm going to tell you, when I got my license to carry years ago, and when I did, it was a postal policeman that taught our class, and he said, and it was only just me and another guy in that class, so it was really good like that. He said, "Let me tell you something. This license is to protect you and your family. It's not to go out and save the world or this or that." He said, "Even if you do have that, there's a high chance people don't win gunfights every time, even if you're good, quick, this and that. I mean, it happens every day with police.
Yeah.
So basically, he explained to me, what you just said. You're not always good. The best thing to do is avoid a gunfight if you
Yeah.
can, right?
Yes.
I mean, leave, get
For
away.
sure. Yeah. Like if you even got, you got to look like a punk, whatever. You, you ain't dying that day, and you ain't killing nobody. And I think another important thing is, and this is the main, I think this is the main goal of my channel in the long run, is if you noticed, I've been doing some long form videos, and I've been catching like interviewing people who have shot people in
Hmm.
self defense, or at least what they believe self defense. And I'm trying to get these real accounts because I think if you walk around and you ask the average person, like, hey, you know, you carry, like, what do you think the chances are of you going to prison for using your gun in self defense? You know,
Hmm.
and I truly feel like, well, I haven't asked you that. So, what do you think if you use your gun in self defense? What do you think the chances are that you would do some time in prison?
That's a great question, man. I have two scenarios. One that happened to my wife that if that's okay to use that one, she actually had to shoot someone.
She
Uh,
did? Oh,
yes, that attacked her with a knife, and
yeah.
this was about early '90s. I want to say maybe '93,
Mhm,
and the person came at her with a knife,
mhm,
and she shot him twice with a 357,
mhm,
a full size Smith and Wesson,
mm,
and the person was high on something.
mhm,
And so it did stop them. They did turn around and leave afterwards and probably never used that arm again. It was a shoulder
mhm,
and arm shot. Um, so it was at a property that we were managing,
mhm,
and the person did. Okay, let me start right there though. They did come cuff my wife,
mhm,
bag her hands, bring her in. She was out within a few hours,
mhm.
after they had done their little preliminary investigation, no charges, no nothing. But I will say this, the person was able to sue that property
Hmm.
for that happening to them. And I believe did end up getting some type of money out of it.
Gosh.
So,
Mm.
I mean, there's that thing also where, you know, uh, the liability, the civil liability of it,
Yeah.
even
And
protecting yourself.
yeah, and the thing is, but usually when I ask everybody, and these are mostly people who shoot, and carry, and they that probably I haven't done the average, but I would assume the average is like 40%. They think like there's a 40% chance I might go to prison.
Hmm.
And even me, I don't truly know the answer to that. But
Hmm.
I want to get all these accounts, like even from your wife would be a great story. But
Hmm.
all these accounts lined up. So hopefully in the future I have hundreds. So when people want to see what happens when you do use your firearm, they have all this documentation on what this person did right, what this person did wrong, why if they didn't go to prison, they didn't. If they did because of this reason.
Hmm.
But I want to try to get this catalog so that hopefully in the future people have a much more clear idea of what happens, like, and their chances of
Right.
actually defending themselves and a jury finding them, you know, um, what would it be called? Like find that it was
Justifiable
self-defense. Yeah,
homicide or whatever.
justified.
I've actually do have a guy. Make sure afterwards we do that. I do have a guy that did go through that and had to go through the court process for a couple of years. Thought he may go to prison. Totally
Yeah,
justified, and it ended up being dropped. And there's a lot of news stuff on it too. Make sure I get you that info
yeah,
for
well,
sure. That man, that's a great question and a great catalog you're doing there. I had one situation where I had to pull out on a guy about to say, we had, listen, managing property is something I'd never want to go into again. I had
yeah,
more problem doing that than anything else in my life, as far as sketchy situations like that. And I had a guy come at me. First, he wanted to fight, and, so we end up doing that, and that didn't work out for him. And he was a ex-military dude. He was bigger than me at the time for sure. And then he pulled out a knife.
yeah.
So from there, I pulled out, a revolver.
Hmm.
And because in the '90s, that was my favorite. I mean, I still love revolvers, but
Yeah, I
anyway,
still do too.
you know, uh, and you know why I made that decision back then? Even with good pieces I had, they were always at the range. I never had a problem with revolvers.
Me
Everything else,
either.
this, that, the other, I'm
Yep.
trying to do this. I knew that revolver. So I always had that. Well, once I did that, this guy threw his knife, hands up, and said, "You can't shoot me. I'm a U.S. Marshal." And yeah, he was out
Hmm.
of it, out of his gourd, whatever. I don't know, but he backed up, and it was a close decision, man, of
Hmm.
whether or not had he moved forward one step with that, then it would have been it.
Yeah,
I'm glad I didn't have to do that,
yeah.
especially if a guy was off or whatever. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's something that people should put a lot of thought into and watch your show and your interviews with those people because it may make them really think about that. Now, if I have to defend myself, and I'm not really worried about going to prison at that point. I mean, it's either that or I'm not going to be alive,
Yeah, of
So
course.
I don't really, I mean, it may suck, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but you
that's
shouldn't have to. You should not be in prison for
right,
defending yourself. Like
right,
if you shot that guy who had to pull the knife on you, like regardless if he took a step forward or not,
right.
honestly, you should not be in prison for that.
The
You know?
officers that showed up and talked with me said, "Oh, you should have did it." That was
Yeah,
there. I was kind of shocked. They were like, "Oh man, no, you should have did." And I, at the time, it was kind of funny, to me. But now I think, but hey, just it worked out the way it did. So that was that. So yeah, man, that's a great. You're doing really good with that, man. That's
yeah, I'm trying
very,
for that.
very good point, man. Very good. Um, Another thing that you always did, well, not always, but some of your videos that I really like is clearing the house, right?
Hmm.
You're clearing that. That was probably one of the first videos I saw that really caught my attention that I went, wow, this is great, man. This guy's got, good points and everything.
Hmm.
You want to walk through a little bit of that, just tell me about what your opinion is on that. I mean, I know the shorts there,
Yeah,
people are going to go see it and everything else.
yeah. My
Tell
thing
me
is
about that.
this is like I said again, people think gun defense can be like John Wick style. Like they think that in their minds, they can run out of their rooms and just put shots on people. But in reality, I mean, first, I don't think most people train with their guns. Like I'll guarantee you, whoever is watching this right now, um, if you have a gun, ask yourself when was the last time you went and shoot it. Because I know I have a lot of gun guy friends, and I'm probably the only one or two, out of maybe 15 of us, that actually go shoot monthly, and the other ones aren't even close. They're probably bi-yearly or something. So if you're not shooting like that, and like if you just bought a gun and you didn't put more than say 500 rounds through it, which most people I don't think do in their lifetime of owning their
Ever,
guns,
right?
and you're not going to be putting shots where you think you are, especially with the handgun. Like handguns are so much more inaccurate than a shoulder fire weapon. Like, and you can, like I've even watched special ops guys who talk about like when they run out of ammo in their rifles, and some they just feel so helpless with the handgun. They're like, "Dang it! Like I have nothing now."
Just throw it out.
Yeah, they
Yeah, no,
literally
I
just feel
got you,
like they
man.
have nothing. And these are
Yeah,
guys that shoot, they have been in multiple firefights, and they even understand that like a handgun is not like really that great, in a gunfight. But clearing the house is just like I said, going back to this reality of what happens, and that you really are not going to be the shooter, that you see in the movies. So the the best option, even for somebody like me that shoots a lot, my best option is truly just hunkering down in the corner of a room. You don't want to be standing in front of the door when they open the door. But if someone's in your house, they probably going to come in every room looking for whatever they're looking for, you know, and
hmm
you just waiting there, you have a major advantage, a
yeah,
major advantage. And also, it looks better whenever if you do eventually have to pull that trigger, it looks much better than you going out and looking for a fight, which I think has a big play on if you're going to spend some time in prison over it.
right,
Like if they kick in your door and make it all the way through these other rooms and then make it to your room, I mean, it's clearly showing, you just protecting yourself. But
right.
if you come running out looking for a fight, and depending on what state you're in, and you don't even have a what is it? I
Stand
forget.
your ground or castle doctrine type law. Is
Yeah,
that what you? Yeah,
it's the third one, whichever one is like duty to retreat. If you have a
retreat. Yeah, I
duty
got you. Yes,
duty to retreat, you could be throwing yourself in prison over that. But
sure.
like I said, not only that, I wish I maybe in the future I'll do like you know like 20 scenarios where people go out looking for the fight versus somebody hunkering down, and show the true numbers of like, let's see who wins the gunfight, like maybe with
Right.
airsoft guns or something. But
Sure.
it's hard to put in perspective how much of an advantage it is to hunker down and wait for somebody to come to you. And even the cops, whenever they don't even like to clear houses, and they're
Oh, it
teams of,
seems like the most dangerous thing there is.
yeah, it's like teams of 10, and um I know for a fact they even train like that first guy that's going in. I think they call it like dead man or something, because man, it's like you have you have no chance if somebody's just standing there waiting for
Right.
you. And these are professionals, the professionals who do this all the time with multiple teams, like 15 people waiting for backup, and
Right.
they still lose these fights sometimes whenever a person
Sure.
is hunkering down. And they still, like if you hear of somebody taking out multiple cops, it's probably that, you look into how they took out multiple cops, it's because they were, had a little
It's like an
funnel.
ambush. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's very hard to fight somebody that's waiting on you. Very hard.
They got the
And
jump, right? I mean, you have the advantage in that situation.
yeah.
If
And
you're hunkering down and you're waiting, they don't know what's on the other end. You're looking at what's coming.
yeah, you hearing these footsteps coming to you, someone's outside your door. Now you don't know if truly they are maybe, a friendly, like you thinking it's somebody else, but it's a family member
Mm-hmm.
and you're afraid. But I mean, that's when verify your target before you pull a trigger. But like I said, someone's coming,
Right.
someone's, even if they're kicking on your door, they're there, they're turning that handle, you can see all this. But as
Mm-hmm.
soon as you break that entryway and you're going looking for something, you don't know where they are.
Right.
You're looking and you're doing all these clearing procedures, but like I say, even the professionals of the professionals know how dangerous it is
Sure.
to be clearing houses when someone's waiting with the firearm. So like uh, like it's really just this John Wick style
Oh, it
movie thing
is. It
that's in the
really is.
head that
It's
people think it's not as good, but it truly is. At least unless someone can convince me with statistics or something otherwise, it is truly the safest way to defend your home.
very smart, man. I'm telling you, I think that's why that video really stuck out to me because I got to ask you two questions. Well, one thing I was going to say is when you just mentioned that the first guy going in and his chances of having trouble, it reminded me. My dad was in the army, and I think his like early on he was in the I want to say forward artillery. I can't remember all the stuff, but it was a guy who looked up front to with binoculars to see where everything landed, And
Okay.
he goes, the average time of making it through battle in that position is like, you know, 10 minutes or something. That guy's usually done first,
Yeah.
before anything happens. I was like, that's a terrible position. But that's what
Yeah.
it reminds me of, the first guy going in, like you said, he's at the worst
100%.
of everything,
Yeah.
and like you say, people think John Wick, this guy, they're military, they're going through clear. Man, that's terrible, man. Dangerous, dangerous. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know,
100%.
I do know. I saw one the other day where now they're using drones to clear
Oh
houses
yeah.
more now. So
Yep.
that's a good thing. You know, that's
Yep.
smart. I'm glad they're doing that. But okay, so for your one of clearing houses, you mentioned this, and I'm not a gamer or a game guy much. I just probably because
Yeah.
just never did, man. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
A camper, man. You mentioned a camper. People don't like campers. Explain
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I use it because it's so relatable for most people in this day and age because gaming is such a big industry.
Hmm.
But since you don't know, but people play the shooters where it's like, you're going up against another person.
Hmm.
And when you camp is just like, what I'm saying in my video where you don't clear the house.
Right.
So like all these people are running around the map and they're just like getting kills. Some of the good people
Uh-huh.
can get like you might get 5 kills
Yeah.
before you get killed,
Yeah.
but the campers, they don't have to be very good. Most of the time it's people that aren't very good,
Right.
so they got tired of getting killed and they'll just wait in the room, behind a closed door or something, and they just let the game go even though they're not seeing any action, but then they get kills,
Right.
and people hate them.
They
Like
hate that.
like,
Well,
and sometimes you can hear the person you kill talk. So
yeah.
like if a camper kills somebody, they'd be like, "Oh, you camper!" Like you trash,
Calling them a camper and
Yeah,
stuff.
because they hate it that much because they feel like it's so unfair. When
Right,
honestly, I
right,
mean, the game is built to where you can do what you want, but they feel so unfair. Like they just like,
right,
come on, fight like a real man,
right.
you
They
know?
want you to put yourself in danger to where they're
Yeah,
not having to deal with that. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it is. I'm telling you, the reality is the same in real life, where it's like you really are at a big
It makes
advantage
sense, man. That was a
camping.
great analogy, man.
Yeah, and I just
Very
figured
good.
most people would understand it better because most people playing games and most people experience running in the room, getting blasted by a camper,
By
and
camper, man.
like, dang it, like this dude, like I would have got you if you would have just been one on one, come out the room,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
like
okay. Well, I'll have to make a confession here, man. So when I'd always bring my daughter, man, for birthday parties or for even for her own stuff, and they would have laser tag. And man, I think I was a camper, man. I mean, and I think they actually had signs that said "Don't do that" on the things that don't
yeah,
stay in one spot. I was a camper, man. I was just sitting there waiting and laser tagging these people off, as it
yep.
went. Oh,
I'm telling you,
damn,
it
bro.
really works. It
It
really
does,
works.
man. It really
People just
does,
they
man.
don't want to admit it because they feel like, I want to go mano or imano or whatever and something
Right.
like that. But it's like, no, like in real life, bro,
In
you
real
don't get
life,
no
yeah.
do overs. You
Yeah.
that person might
Camp.
get a lucky shot on you. Yeah, like
Right.
you do not do these things. This is your life, and you
Exactly.
only got one chance. And you really, like you said, you rather go to prison instead of losing your life in a gunfight, which I would rather go too.
Right.
And especially if you have a family, because if you lose
That's
that
what I mean.
fight, it's not just you losing your life,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's
100%.
it's truly like, put all the other stuff aside and just like they do in the video game, get the guy with the most advantage. Give yourself the biggest advantage every single time. And like I said, camping,
Be
not
a camper,
clearing
man. Be a
houses
camper
is
in the
one of
home.
those things.
Hey, don't exact. Listen, man. 100%. Like that philosophy, I think, goes over with everything. Even let's say firearms aren't involved, man. As far
Yeah,
as I interviewed Coach Britt from Las Vegas Combat Sports Academy. And Coach Britt, man, he was a military guy, and he teaches Krav Maga and other types of disciplines. And his thing is avoiding the situation is the best thing you can do, rather than engage. The longer you engage, the higher the chances you're going to end up injured or worse.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if you can avoid it, do that. You don't want to be in those situations. But great advice. Okay, here's another one, man. That for me that we kind of touched on a little bit, man. Revolver versus semi, man.
yeah.
Uh, great video, great stuff. Just a
Yep.
short one on that. What do you think, man?
Now, me, bro, I think most of you people watching this that have a gun, you probably have semi-automatic handgun. You should have a revolver, and mainly because you don't train. Like most people aren't training. Like, be honest with yourself. Ask yourself when the last time you shot your gun. And revolvers are way more simplistic. And I don't care what anybody says, like about reliability. Like they say, like, oh, revolvers can this. Yeah, any gun can have a malfunction. True, but
Mm-hmm.
I've shot, I can't, countless rounds through
Yep.
both. And the most major malfunction I ever had on a revolver was I had one, and it was a Taurus. It's Taurus Judge, and that was one of my. I think that was
I
my
had
first
one.
revolver. Yeah, and I was even warned before I got the Taurus Judge that things happen with them. But I was so stuck on the fact that I wanted a Taurus Judge because I saw the
Mm-hmm.
name so much that I
Yeah.
bought one. And they just, so if y'all watching and y'all want one, the Smith and Wesson Governor is literally, it shoots the same calibers except it also
Yes.
shoots 45 ACP
Mm-hmm.
and is much more reliable.
Mm-hmm.
So but the Taurus Judge, the worst problem I ever had was with that revolver, and it would skip a cylinder after I put, I don't know, maybe 1,000 rounds through it. It would skip a cylinder.
Really?
Yeah, so like it holds 5, but I
Yeah.
could only get it to shoot 4
4 because
for
it's
some
skipping.
reason. And then
That's nuts.
I
Wow.
cleaned it. I cleaned it, and then it stopped, and I shot it a few times, and then I sold it eventually. But that still was my worst malfunction in any revolver.
Yeah. And
And
what is that? What's,
yeah,
you know what I'm
it's like
saying?
in the
It sucks,
gunfight,
but yeah.
yeah, it still would have protected me in a gunfight.
Right.
But I have had countless malfunctions in semi-automatic weapons. Countless. Like I even had one in my AR, which was crazy. Like I just chambered around and my bolt didn't see all the way forward. And when I tried to, eject it to see what was going on, I couldn't even eject it. And then
Mm.
eventually I had to wait till I got home and I pried it open with a flathead, and I have that bullet still somewhere around here. But the front of the bullet crushed, I don't know, inside the barrel. Like I don't know if it was the bullet, the casing, what happened, but it crushed and it kept my bolt from moving after that.
Yeah.
And like I mean, but countless. Like,
Sure.
and I would ask anybody that shoots both revolver versus semi, like how many malfunctions you've had with a revolver compared to semi-automatic guns. I guarantee you, if you're a true shooter,
It,
you have more malfunctions in semi-automatic handguns.
any
Guaranteed.
honest person's going to tell you that. If anybody tells you different, they either just don't shoot or they're not honest, because
Yeah,
that's
unless
just a
maybe
fact.
you got like the worst revolvers out there,
That I guess that could happen too, man. I mean,
but
geez.
but it's not really comparable. And
Nah.
also, like I've taken so many people who are new to shooting out to shoot, and they get confused on how to load magazines.
Yeah.
They get confused on whenever their gun is loaded. Like that's a common thing
Yeah.
is you take them out with like a standard like Glock 17 or something, a semi-automatic. Like I'm all the time they're like, is it loaded? Like they put the magazine in and they're like, am I
Mm-hmm.
ready to shoot?
Right.
And I'm like, no, you don't have one in the chamber. And they're confused by that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And my worst fear is for people that are like that who would buy something and they would think it's loaded in a gunfight. And
Right.
they literally gave the person they were trying to shoot a reason to kill them, by
Mm-hmm.
pulling their gun, and
Right.
it's
They got
useless.
nothing. They
And when
got
they pull
nothing.
that trigger, they're confused. And that's another
They
thing I
don't know
noticed
what to,
too.
because at that point, your thought process, especially under pressure,
Yes.
you're not thinking it's time to, check or do this or anything for that matter. Mess with the slide. Do, see if there's another problem. That's out the window, man. So
Yep.
100% I'm with you on that, man. A revolver, especially for people who don't have a lot of experience and feel 100%. If you don't feel 100% comfortable at the range with your stuff, you
Yeah.
definitely ain't going to feel comfortable in a high stress situation.
Yep. And another thing is, if you take a lot of ladies, and I'm not trying to bash the ladies out there, but if you take a lot of ladies out there and give them a semi-automatic pistol, it's
Mm,
they struggle getting that
right.
slide all the way back. Like I've had
Sure.
multiple women that could not get that slide all the way back to load around. And for the elderly who may
Oh,
have,
yeah.
problems being able to, get that strength to push a slide all the way back.
Arthritis, anything.
Like,
Sure.
yes. And even, like it's so many things like that. And it's with the revolver, all those are negated just because of how
Yes.
simple it is built. And even some, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe some states you can't even have a pistol, a handgun loaded with one in the chamber. Like, so technically you'd have to carry. And then if something happened, you have to pull that slide back.
You got to pull your slide and
And
all that. Yeah.
yeah, and then with the revolver, it's like you don't have one in the chamber, but you have one ready to go with the pull
You're
of the
ready.
trigger. So it's a lot of advantages, and the biggest disadvantage is the amount of rounds you can carry.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, like if you look at real life situations and not worry about what's going on in these movies, you know,
Yeah.
unless you're in a gang or something, and you really
Right.
you out there and they coming for you. Like you truly you will probably never need more than 3 rounds, more than like you
Yeah.
just won't. Like look up
Yeah.
the statistics, look at real videos, and if
Right.
if you feel different, prove me wrong by showing me real life scenarios.
Yep.
You know.
I think you're that's why I love your videos so much and your stuff, man, because it's let me ask you this, man. How much on a video like that, man, with the revolver semi, how many and do you even have time to look at them because you got so many troll comments of stuff do you
Oh
get and the ones on that going, oh, you never, what do you do, you might
yeah,
as well carry a rock. I mean, I've literally gotten those on
yeah.
revolver
Like I said, so I can't keep up with them
for
because
sure.
I mean I'm always trying to think of the next thing to put out.
Right.
But no, man. Like people, like I just know from the comments, the general consensus is I need more ammo. I
Right.
need. What if you need to reload? When
Right.
people aren't even reloading semi-automatic guns.
Mm-mm.
You know, and
Sure.
then people complain so much about how little you can carry in a revolver, when a lot of these semi-automatic, real compact guns, like take I got a Glock 42, I believe it's 380 that my wife carries, and it holds 7 rounds, and that's one with one chambered.
Right.
My 357 revolver holds 7 rounds, you
Right.
know,
Sure.
like, but just the way it looks, people think
Yeah.
like, oh, it can do so much more. And I'm like, truly, first of all, 7 rounds is a lot in a self-defense situation, you know, like
Right.
people are not the thing is people think like I said, they think the movies where you're gonna pull out your gun and y'all gonna be in a shootout.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like you're gonna be out there, pop, 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 reload, throw me a mag,
Yeah. 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 Drop it. They're gonna spin and roll, man.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's like also somehow they all know that in reality, people are ducking and
Yeah. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
even, like they know this at the same time, but they still feel the need, you know, to need 30 rounds.
They
Like
need that. Yeah. Yeah.
it's crazy. It's
It
truly
is,
crazy.
man. And I think what you're saying, the reality, and if people actually did the research and this and that. Oh, I had people say, "Oh man, why would you even tell somebody to do that? Why would you tell somebody to have a revolver?" There it's when I hear a comment like that, I usually figure the person just doesn't
Yeah.
really know anything, and they've watched, like you said, they watched John Wick a few times, and they're figuring, uh, you know,
Yeah.
that's what they're gonna do in this situation or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, man, I'm gonna pull this one up. This was a really good one, I thought. How to
Hmm.
fly, man. How to fly. I, I think most people don't fly with it because they figure where they when they're leaving. Oh, they don't think self defense
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
I actually did a video on self defense on a plane, like using a magazine or stuff like that or whatever, tactical pins,
Yeah.
stuff. But uh, just your experience. How hard is the process? Are they usually pretty receptive to you and follow know what's going on, or do you have people that just agents when you go to check in and go, oh, what the hell?
No. All right. So like I'll say before is I probably flown. I would say it's safe to say around 50 times, 50 different on 50 different aircraft with firearms, or
Hmm.
not on me, but in my checked
That you
luggage.
brought, right?
So it's always checked luggage. And another tip, I don't know how true this is, but if it is true, this is a like just something everybody should know. Is I've heard if you do fly with a firearm, the the airline cannot legally lose your luggage, you know.
I heard
And
you say that. Yeah.
it sounds like it would be, something that could be true because I mean, you can't just have firearms floating out there.
Right.
But
So do they just drop it on the conveyor like all other
yeah.
luggage?
So
That
yeah.
scares me.
Yeah. So like this is how I'll do it. First of all, you could go and type in on Google, like if you're flying Delta, you could put Delta firearms policy. It'll have all of this, right? All and they'll have different things. But I've never had issues. And in the beginning I followed every step they said. And then as I kept going, I'm like, oh, this one's different, but I'm gonna just try it this way, and whatever. But it's always basically you take your firearm, you have it in a locked case. You have to have a lock on it, some type of lock, and you have to be able to access it either by, like a digit code or a key. So when you take it, if you have a handgun that can fit in your checked luggage, it don't add too much weight, maybe, 4 pounds
Hmm.
or 5 pounds. So like say you put it with your check luggage, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to tell them anything prior to getting to the airport. When you get to the airport, you just make sure it's unloaded in the case, basically. Usually, even if I have mags, I leave them loaded, leave them in the same case. And
Okay.
sometimes they'll say different things, but I've never had a problem with none of this stuff.
Okay.
I honestly think most of the clerks that are doing this, they don't truly know what all the website list,
Right.
and they don't even check to see if it's unloaded most of the time. Like
They
recently,
don't want to mess with it, probably, I
yeah,
would guess.
they don't even have me open the case lately.
Mm.
Probably only maybe 10 out of the 50 times they ask me to open the case,
Mm.
But so you put it in your checked luggage. When you get there, you just say, "Hey, I have a firearm to declare." They'll give you a paper, and you sign it, and the paper just says it's an unloaded firearm. You put it in there. You have to lock your your suitcase. I forget if your suitcase actually has to be locked. I always lock all of my stuff if I have a firearm, but you have to have it in that lock case. And then they just put it on a conveyor belt like everything else, and they'll tell you like, "Hey, just wait here for about 10 minutes, and if we call you back, uh, then we'll tell you what you need to do." And I've been called back one time, and I I waited the 10 minutes, and then at this time I used to wait every time I wait the 10 minutes. Now I just hand it to them and I go. But I waited the 10 minutes and I went to catch my flight, and then they called me. I heard my name or something on the loudspeaker, and I went back to the front. And what this one was, I had a rifle case, I had a shotgun in it, and it was like one of the long cases, but it had a spot for like 4 locks.
Hmm.
And I put a lock on like 2 spots on the outside, maybe. But then you could still like pop the case and open the middle and
Mm.
still get to it. So they're
Gotcha.
like, you don't have enough locks. So I hurried up and went and bought 2 more locks in that airport and put 2 more. That's the only time I've ever been called back,
Really?
is for not having enough locks. And then if you bring a rifle case like that with you, like, oh, it also has to be a hard case, so hard
Okay.
lockable case. And when you bring that, you got to pay regular luggage for,
So it's
regular
a
luggage
separate
fee.
luggage piece.
Yep,
How do
for that.
people look at you going in there with that, man, with a rifle case and stuff? Do you get funny looks? Do you get
Man, it's been
any?
a while since I brought my rifle, and I don't
Does it
remember
freak
actually.
people out? Any
Nah, I don't
anything
remember
with the
anything.
cops or anything? Nothing in. Okay, good, man. Well,
Yeah,
good
it's rare that I ever bring a rifle
that you
because
had to anyway.
I think at that time I was moving
Okay.
I used to be in Hawaii, and I was going from Hawaii back to the States, and I had to bring all my stuff with me. So I think that's when I had my rifles. But usually I just bring a handgun just for protection wherever
Sure.
I'm traveling to.
Where you
So I
going?
just throw it in my case. And I've had one time I got my luggage back, and they had zip tied the whole thing with like these zip ties are so long, but
Yeah, it had to be to go all the way around.
yeah,
Yeah.
they zip tied both ways, like long ways and width ways, all around my suitcase, and I had to, so I
Wow.
had to cut them when I got home.
And now you got to buy
But
a knife or something on the way out. Huh?
yep, but that was
Holy
the only
smokes.
time they ever did anything weird like that. And
Jeez.
then every other time, it just goes through like regular luggage. And then- and I'll show you how lax they are on this. Is one time I gave one of my guns away to someone, and it was a older lady, and I gave it to her as a birthday present, and I was just like, "Hey, remember I gave you that gun? It's in your luggage," and I had to tell her like how it'll fly with it because she didn't know. I just
Hmm.
told her when you get there, tell them you don't have no ammo because I just gave you the gun, So tell them you
Hmm.
have it. They'll tell you blah blah blah, and you'll be all right. And then when she got home, I was like, "Hey, how did it go flying with the firearm?" And she was like, "I forgot to
Oops.
even tell them."
Wow, they
And
really are lax, man. Holy smokes, man.
yeah, so I
Oh
was like,
man.
"That's kind of bad." I don't know what airline or nothing.
Yeah, right. Oh man,
So,
I used to give everybody knives, man, for Christmas and stuff. And in Texas here, man, they made there's the law is now there is no illegal knives. You can
oh,
have
okay.
whatever you know. OTFs, regular switchblades, whatever, So I'd always give them, some type of OTF or switchblade or whatever. I give my sister one, and so she's flying out somewhere to see my niece, and forgot she had it in her purse. Oh man, she got pulled to the side. And I think from that point on, and she was like, just throw it away. I mean, I got to catch this flight. I didn't do it on purpose. Check my record, whatever, but
Yeah.
from then on, man, she gets full body scan and
Oh,
pull the
dang.
side, extra check it. Yeah, man, they put you on a list after that, I think. But
Dang.
that was a pretty interesting one. I guess it's better than getting in a lot of trouble over it. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, man, that was one I found very interesting, man, and I think is something that probably could help a lot of people because most people don't,
Yeah, don't know.
don't have
And
a
it doesn't
clue,
cost
man.
don't cost you anything.
Is
You
that
know,
right?
like you
That's
pretty
cool.
much and one thing I see a lot of people that I assume that don't really know, that don't really fly with their guns. I see YouTubers that'll explain how to fly with their gun. And one of the main things is they'll say you need a TSA approved case. I promise you, TSA don't care.
They're not
Like
checking your case, huh?
they're not looking for no TSA approved check thing, nothing like that. I
Right.
promise you. If you got a hard case that got a way to lock it, that's what
Yeah.
they care about.
That's
Like,
that's it.
so
Yeah,
don't go
clearly
killing
because
yourself looking for no
they
TSA approved case
to make sure
or
you're
a
safe.
TSA approved lock. Like even some of the locks I put on mine, I know for a fact like I could just pop it off if I try
Sure.
real
Yeah.
hard. And
Right.
like it's good for them, you know?
Yeah. No, no. I mean, well, what's going to happen in there anyway? Hopefully,
Yeah.
and it's in where it's supposed to be. You're following the rules. I think most people, agencies do that. If a person's trying to follow what's happening, they
Yeah.
clearly know you're not trying to do anything
Yeah.
sketchy. So they're like, hey, don't get this guy. Let's look for real problems. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
this ain't it. But all
Yeah.
right, man. I got one here, man. This one was actually, I'm hoping I can't, these pictures are like this small, man, that I'm looking at. So I always hope I pull the right one. But this
Oh
one I
yeah.
was watching, I felt bad, man. I mean, holy smokes, man.
Oh yeah, man. That one
Woo!
was crazy. Ah, yeah.
Dude,
So
yeah, so it was you know what, man? It's a scenario I actually thought about.
yeah.
Um, I want to say, geez, when was it? Just a couple days ago, man. I
Yeah.
was in a parking lot waiting on my brother and my daughter to, come out of the store, and this guy walks by in a full ski mask.
Yeah.
And I'm messing around doing this. And I always, if I'm just sitting in my car, I keep my tools handy, because
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen. But he goes by, and I was like, damn, should I, just in case, should I have my window down so I don't mess up trajectory, or do
Yeah.
I just go through the window? It's so funny, man, because that video I watched like right afterwards, man. But you
Dang,
ended
yeah.
up potentially with some short term, hopefully, health problems from that, man. Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So this one, because I always thought about this scenario too. Like I always thought it would be better to shoot through your window if you have to. And first, let me say is I want to do an in-depth video on this one day, but like I shot 3 shots at the target through the windshield, and it's only one bullet hole. Or no, I shot 5 shots. That's what it is. I took 5 shots at the target through the windshield, and it's 2 bullet holes because I can see it right here. So it's
Mm-hmm.
2 bullet holes, but only 3 impacts on my target. So what I think is those 2 bullet holes that were created when the bullet hit, it did divert, and I wasn't able to hit my target since I only have 3 in the target and
Mm,
2 in the window. You know,
right.
so I think, and I mean, it's obviously a situation where I'm not under high stress. So I was able to sit there and aim through the same hole. I think in real life, you're going to put a bullet hole in the windshield every time. So
Mm-hmm.
every bullet you put is going to be going somewhere where it shouldn't be going,
Right.
you know? So that's one negative to shooting through the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Mm-hmm. Right.
that's what I thought would have been the most negative thing. And turns out for me, it was actually that. the dust that's created when you shoot through the windshield is actually can harm you because it's making this glass dust. And I the way I did this video when I filmed it, I didn't think nothing about glass dust at all, at all. And I didn't post the video, but I took 2 clips of the video where I was shooting and I posted it on my YouTube under the community tab. And as soon as I posted it that night, people were like, man, careful with glass dust. It could mess up your lungs. And then I was like, it literally the same night. And I was like, glass dust. And I'm like, dang, I hope they're not right. And then that same night, man, I'm like, I remember I kept thinking my breath was like a little stinky. And I'm like, I kept brushing my teeth because I was like, I don't know why my breath feeling like it's tasting a little weird. And then I kind of taste a little bit of blood. And then boom, and then I saw those glass dust comments. I was like, God, I hope they're not right.
Oh
And
no,
then
man.
yeah, another day goes by and I'm like, no, it's kind of like, you feeling sick. Then third day goes, I'm like, oh, now I know. Like, I'm like, yep, it must be that. It must be that because I was good before that. And the rest of my family wasn't sick either. So I was like, oh, it must be this. And then a couple more days go by and it's getting worse and worse to where I could start tasting my food less. And I never had that before, like, when everybody was experiencing like not being able to taste their food from COVID.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never had that.
Gotcha.
And so I started thinking like maybe somehow I catch COVID. I took a
Right.
test. No, it showed negative. But then like it went a couple of days, maybe like 3 days where I couldn't taste anything, couldn't smell anything. My wife even was trying to play a prank, like using fart spray.
Oh
Cause
no.
she wasn't sure how
To see if it was
serious
real.
I was, how
Yeah.
bad it was. And so like she's spraying fart spray all over the house. And like her and our daughter is there and they looking at me all weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are y'all doing? And then like they're just trying to hold it in, like, and
Yeah.
eventually they're like, dang, it's too bad. We can't keep trying. Like, you can't smell that.
You really
And
can't. So
and
how did
I'm
that affect it, man? What it's just a
I
side
have
effect of that happening or
I have no idea. Like I started looking it up and it was just like um glass dust could be just like any other dust. Like, you can walk outside on a real dusty day
mm-hmm.
and it can make you sick. And when you're getting sick, it's just building up a mucus inside your lungs to make it come back out. And they say glass dust is the same, except the bad part is it cuts you as it's coming up.
Oh
So,
man.
and it can cause scarring, and that scarring is causing inflammation, and it is why you're not smelling things or tasting things because it's inflamed in there.
It's so inflamed,
So,
man.
yeah, and if the scarring is bad enough, it would stay like that.
Sure, man.
And I
Yeah.
was like, please, God, no, because not tasting my
Oh,
food was horrible. It was
I
literally like
bet, man.
it was
That's
so weird,
terrible.
so weird.
Oh
But
man.
but it was something that I was just like, well, at least luckily I experienced it and I have a place where I can share it. And I wish that video would hopefully keep going, get more and more views. Cause I'm like, this is something that I guarantee you is not thought about. And I even for police officers, like I said in that video, I see a lot of clips of police officers shooting through their windshield.
Yes.
And I'm like, bro, I guarantee you a lot of them woke up sick and they had no idea what was going
Just
on.
thought maybe they're sick or whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't even
And
think of that as being the issue.
yeah, and if you have already respiratory problems, that
Sure.
could be 10 times worse,
Oh
you know.
yeah.
And I
Oh man.
counted the seconds too, and I was only in there like 16 seconds or so, or 26 seconds. And I'm like, most people probably shooting and they ain't getting out their car. They're waiting for
Mm-mm.
the cops to get there to tell them to get out and stuff like that. And the whole time you're breathing that in, I'm like, oh, that is obviously, I'd rather shoot through the windshield and save my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I have that option, and now that I know, I'd at least get out of the car as quick as possible afterwards.
Right after you get through, yeah, or something.
Yeah,
Oh
but
man, there's
that's
no, I, that's something that I think nobody thinks. I've seen guys do, videos where they're working on like with a big nut on a rope, showing how it'll shatter stuff or what it
Yeah.
does, and they're breaking glass. A lot of times they're on the outside, but
Yeah.
you know, uh, it's I
Yeah.
think it's just something people don't think of, and the hypochondriac in me would have flipped out, man, when
Yeah.
all those uh uh different things started happening, man. So I bet that was very stressful, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
bad. It was like I was just like, please let me smell again. Please let me smell
I,
again.
I want to know what food's like.
Yeah, it was some weird things that I was just like, man, like it's some things that I forgot now because I can smell normal again. But
Yeah.
it was some things I'm just like, I remember saying, man, I won't be able to smell if it's gas leaking,
All
if
right.
it's some
Yeah.
certain things. And I remember it was some things that I'm just like, bro, I legit can't tell. And this is kind of dangerous. I forget what they were.
For sure,
But
man.
and a lot of people still on that video will comment like, just make sure you wear a mask if you decide to shoot through your windshield. But I'm like, in real life, there ain't no making sure you're
Nah.
wearing a mask. So there's it's like just train how you would in real life, and
Yeah.
know that that's an option. But man, I would
That
just
may
say,
happen or whatever. You know what
yeah,
impressed me about it is the fact of how many hits you made shooting outside like that, man, of
me
the window,
too.
man. That was
Me too. And that
that
was
was impressive,
cold
man.
firing. That was the only time I've ever taken shots like that. Like
That's
only
nuts,
time.
man.
And I didn't even expect to hit the target at all, you know.
That
And
impressed me almost more than anything on there, man.
yep. And I'm
Geez.
telling you right now, if I had to take the choice, like that guy on the ski mask, if he was walking in front of my car and he
Yeah.
pulled a gun,
Yeah.
I'm if I would have put the window down slowly
And
and
go, hold on just a
yeah,
minute. Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
man.
I would have done that.
Well, I'd have
Or I would
grabbed a
have
bag and throw it at him. Here, man, here's my wallet, my money, and then bing,
yeah, or
whatever.
use the
But
car, but I'm like,
yeah.
I'm
Or run
telling
over. Right.
I am not using the shooting through the
You don't
windshield
want
if
to go
I
through
can
that again.
help it.
No, man, I don't blame you at all, man. That's just that was terrible, man. I was honestly, man, I was sitting there going, "Oh man, this is really sad, man." You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? I was like, "Geez, I feel terrible watching this one now."
yeah,
Oh
man.
man,
And it's funny, a lot of people do because they'll comment on my other videos like, "Hey, man, like how your lungs are,"
I
like
know, right?
way from that one. But I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah. You got to wear a
like,
respirator out with your self defense tools from now on, man.
yeah. I
Here's
wish they
one
would
that
show it to like cops though. I'm like,
they
man, you
should,
guys,
man.
they
That's
need to
one that
know
should be
this.
out. Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely should, man. That's one. Here's just I'll pull up a couple. Man, we're coming up on an hour already, man. I'm gonna pull up a couple for you. This was a good one, man.
Oh yeah.
Driving. So I travel. I told you. We bring our RV different states. I try to make sure the laws are reciprocal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Tell people. I mean, how important that is, man, to know
Yeah.
where you're going.
It is super important to know every state that you're in. The gun laws, they change so much. Like gun laws state per state change so much. And it's kind of sad that the fact like I could literally drive 50 minutes from here and be in California and be considered a felon, like
Yeah.
literally just because I didn't pay attention to, oh, I crossed this border and the gun laws change. And like in California, you can't have any gun loaded with any magazine. You got to have them in. I don't remember if it's separate cases, but you got to have the case locked. You got to
Mm,
have all of this, and the fact that every state is so different.
yeah.
If you're driving to any state or flying to another state, you really need to do your research. Do not go by what's in your state. Even some states have certain amount of pounds that the trigger has to have. Like I forget what states it is. It's one of like states on the East Coast that they have like you have to have like a 30
Oh
pound
my
trigger pull
gosh, man.
just to be able to have a legal gun there, just because they deem
Oh
like
wow,
if you
man.
pull through that trigger, you really feel we're in fear of
Right,
your
right,
life.
right. You
But
had to do this. You had to
yeah,
train your trigger finger enough.
but imagine like you literally just live in a normal other
Yeah,
of the whatever states, and you travel to this state not knowing you use your firearm in self-defense, and they're like,
yeah,
oh, but your trigger is rated for 7 pounds,
yeah.
and the
You're a
law
pound
here
off.
states you gotta be 30 pounds. And it's like,
Man,
now I'm going to prison for 20 years because of this, you know?
super important, man. I think that most people, I mean, I guess people who are really into it kind of look, but just the average person thinking, oh, I'm
Dude,
going here,
don't
they're
know.
not looking. I always try to tell you one mistake I made, man. One time, me and my wife, we were traveling. This was 2019, so we went to Las Vegas for a week or so, and uh, real nice. We went to a real nice. It was it the Desert Rose or one of those places? It was a nice little condo type setup that we stayed at and everything. And anyway, she wanted to go see the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
And that's federal property, man. But here's the thing. I mean, and we weren't thinking of it at the time or whatever, but that it was a long drive from not long, but you know what I'm saying. I ain't going there without
Mhm.
nothing. Okay, I ain't
Mhm.
driving. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going to the store without nothing. But I definitely ain't driving that far. So we're both packed up. We're in like a rental van from Texas. It has a Texas thing, one of big ones or whatever. And
Yeah.
so as you pull up, I don't know if the dogs really smell this, or what, or if because the guy was kind of like, you got any firearms on you or whatever. Like, so,
Oh,
they have armed people there, as you pull in.
yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, man, I actually got quite a few with me, man. He goes,
Yeah.
all right, man, here's what we're gonna do. He goes, he goes, you got you. I said, yeah, I got my LTC, all my stuff. Here it is. And he goes, I was telling him I thought we'd be able to park, maybe leave stuff, and then, well, I didn't know how to set up. We should have looked into it more. That's the bottom line of
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But very cool guy. He said, here's what we're gonna do, man. Let me see your stuff, make sure you're good. This guy's gonna turn you around that way. And he
Yeah.
goes, there's an armory where you can leave your stuff,
Oh, yeah.
however far away from here, and then come back, which I'm not leaving my stuff and coming back. That was a skip spot on that trip. But
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, check those places too, man. If you're
Yeah.
visiting, make sure if you're going on any federal land, stuff like that, keep that in mind, because that's a
Yeah.
thing too, man. And it can end bad. We were lucky, good people. They understood the situation.
Yeah.
We didn't
And a
get
lot of
too.
people get confused on that. Is like, I want to make clear for people that don't know, just because you see a no gun sign doesn't mean it's illegal to take a gun in there. But if it's a federal building, that pretty much means it's illegal to
Right,
take a gun in there, even if they don't have a no gun sign. Like the
right,
post office, like if
yes,
it's a federal building, even if you don't see a sign, you cannot take your gun there. But if you're going, certain other places, like there's a bunch of places, like it could be on
stores,
Walmart. Yeah,
liquor stores
Walmart
here. People will
have
have a
no
sign.
gun signs. That is a, what is it called? I forget, but it is not a law.
No,
That is.
it's something
It's,
I'm not following. I'll tell you.
yeah,
We got these the signage for no concealed carry in that area. If they put the legal one up, you're supposed to abide by that. They got the no open carry is, this one, and you're supposed to follow that. You're supposed to follow those if you have a license. We have constitutional carry here. I still would keep a license for travel and things anyway, but
yeah,
um I would say I agree with you 100. I mean, not even agree with you. It's a fact.
yeah,
Most of those signs that say, no firearms literally mean nothing. I
yeah,
mean, it's literally nothing. In fact, you're oh wait, we can't rob this place because it has
yeah,
guns. That was
yeah,
great, man.
yep,
I sent it to a buddy today, man. That was a great one, man. Very good, man. But I actually did a video on the post office. I was leaving the post office and I said, hey, you see this place here? There's one place you cannot carry. And I still had people, man. Oh, well, somebody challenged it in Florida. And this, I say, hey, man, listen, if you got deep pockets and you want to
yeah,
challenge that and go to, in fact, that was such a weird scenario. That was a postal worker who got caught
mm,
on the property with a piece. And he caught another case that they didn't dismiss, but they did dismiss the firearm case on him.
dang, hmm.
Yeah, it was a weird case. So I wouldn't bank on that for case law of whether I'm going to carry or not. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying in there? It's
not at
no,
all.
no,
Yep.
no. Let me see what we got here, man. This was your fish, man.
Oh
You're
yeah, my
big.
fishing.
Oh man, tell me a little bit. Hey, Cajun guy, man. You hunting, fishing. let me know about your recipe and stuff real fast. That's what we'll wind it down with, man.
All right, yeah, man. Nah, I grew up like I said, fishing. I fish a lot, bro. I fish more than most people definitely will in their lifetime, and I'm only in my 30s. But
Nice. Nice.
but and in Louisiana, we pretty much fry everything that's fish related. Well, I ain't gonna say that. In where I'm from, we fry everything. But
Nice.
uh, but yeah, it's just one of our things, and one of the common fish we do catch, at least near lock and dams where I live, is striped bass, like what you see here. And yeah, so I grew up eating a lot eating a lot of fish. And whenever I joined the military and I started going state to state and this and that. And that's when you kind of like try everybody's hometown stuff. Like like I said, I went to Hawaii, so I started trying Hawaiian foods and blah blah blah. And everybody thought my fish was really good. And so I always shared it with people. Everybody, like most of my friends will say, probably I make the best fried fish.
Oh, I bet,
And
man. It looked great, man. That was a wonderful video, man.
yeah.
All right, man. One more. What best boudin in Louisiana, man? I love boudin, man. You got
Oh,
a
bro,
favorite spot?
that's gonna be for sure. Depending on what part you in, you're gonna have to ask when you go down there. But
Okay.
but most of the times, which I don't know how much time you spend in Louisiana, but most of the times is in gas stations.
Gas station spots? Okay.
Like
Hey, man,
most,
I've had some good boudin balls in places stopping through, and I had another guy tell me that. Okay.
yeah, like a
Is
lot
it
of
a
people.
particular person that makes it, or are they all individual?
Oh no, like if you go, probably every parish you go to, somebody gonna say a different spot because
Gotcha.
most people ain't traveling that much, not for
Right.
no Boudin at least.
Yeah.
But
Oh, man.
yeah, I'm
I
sure.
drive across the world for good boudin, man. Oh, man.
But yeah, if you're out for where I'm from, if you in Marksville, Louisiana, Juno's Cajun Meats, they got the best Boudin. But
Man, I'm gonna have to put it on my list, man. Junos, man.
yeah,
That's it. That's awesome, man. Hey, that's great. Listen, man, this has been wonderful. I can't believe an hour went by that fast because I got a million more things to. But listen, I appreciate it big time, man. Taking the time to do this.
like I said,
Thank you,
I
man. Thank you.
appreciate you even wanting to hear my opinions, man.
Oh, man. Everybody watching this, man, make sure and go over and check out Jake's channel, Cajun Boy Jake. There's a lot of excellent information over there that could probably save your life, save you a lot of trouble, and just enjoyable stuff, man, to watch. So yeah, definitely go over there. I'll drop the links. Click like on this video, man. Make sure and subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Jake's channel, and just appreciate all the support, man. Thank you.